some dare call it conspiracy, with Brent Lee and Neil Sanders. This is Pizzagate, episode 7, with our guest, Joel Hill, from the Conditional Release Program podcast.
So the one thing that basically, that is definitely real, and I thought that it wasn't, I have to be honest, is the FBI symbols. I originally thought that this was just because it appears in the WikiLeaks doesn't necessarily mean that it's real, because I could never find the corresponding thing on the FBI website or whatever. So I wondered if it was, again, out of context or whatever. And to a degree, it was taken out of context. Now, here's the thing. Now, Pizzagate describes these symbols, or the theory describes these symbols as ways of advertising. So you'd be walking along and you'd see this symbol as a paedophile and go, "Oh, brilliant! There we go.
There we go.
I'll go and knock on their front door and ask them if they've got a child for sale or whatever." And it wasn't quite like that. Okay. The symbol was designed by two people. One was called Astram and one was called Night Raven. And that's Harold Sperling and Jeffrey Brisson. And these were two people that were later convicted of paedophilia. They set up numerous websites, including .com and .net, and they were using this symbol. Okay, but they're not using this symbol as a way of advertising. They were involved in NAMBLA type organizations. So what they wanted this symbol to be was to be a symbol that would represent the legitimization of child-adult sex relationships. So in the same way that some people think that NAMBLA is a legitimate organization, not us, but some people involved in that would say that this is a sexual orientation or a lifestyle choice as opposed to just, noncing children, which is what it is.
Well, yeah.
So that was why they created these logos, to legitimize and normalize child sex. It wasn't as an advertising campaign. It wasn't to say, get it here, this is where kids are. It was so that symbol could become the rainbow flag, say, of paedophilia.
Okay.
Yeah, so again, it is real, but it's taken ever so slightly out of context. So what the FBI had done, had found various offshoot websites. Basically, what happened was these two people got arrested for 140 charges, including 38 first-degree sexual assaults. They'd filmed themselves with toddlers. They filmed themselves with babies. When they were actually arrested, their 60-year-old neighbor got caught up in the raid because he just happened to be round at their house at the time. He had no knowledge of this, and he ended up getting his catheter torn out by the police during the raid.
Jesus Christ.
Absolutely. Now, when they went upstairs during this raid, and I reiterate that the neighbor had absolutely no knowledge of this, they found a 3-month-old baby of dubious origin that was found. These are horrible, guys. These are nasty. The symbol is real, but it's not quite what it's been expressed as. But yeah, so they are real, but they aren't. It's not actually sort of connected to the pizza shop, and it's a misrepresentation of what the actual symbol is.
It's connected to a completely different case, but a completely real case.
Yes, exactly.
Pedophiles that were convicted.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. They're never getting out of prison.
On record convicted.
Yes.
But also not just like this pie-in-the-sky bullshit someone made up. Often these things are followed by real convictions with real police doing real police work to fucking make these cases through courts that really make judgments.
Yeah, totally. And that's the thing. But similar to that, if you remember, basically the owner of Besta Pizza was named Andrew Klein, and people pointed out that the member of the human trafficking unit under Obama was also named Andrew Klein. Well, it turns out that that's correct. There was a person called Andrew Klein, but can you believe there's more than one person called Andrew Klein in the world, and they're not connected at all? Not even slightly connected.
Of course. Yeah, no. Textbook. Yeah. There we go.
So, the Instagram of James Alefantis. Right, so he did have a picture of Antinius as his profile picture. And now, as people have pointed out, Antinius has been noted to be connected with pederasty by some people. But he's mostly a gay icon. right? Okay, he was written about by Oscar Wilde. It's a gay icon. It's one of these things. It's like I'm trying to think. It's maybe like using that boy from A Picture in Venice or whatever. They're like a really gorgeous young boy.
Yeah,
you know what? Gay people like pretty boys, right? I go by I don't mean children. I mean they like pretty men.
I know.
Right? Okay,
yes,
like
that's right.
So there's a lot of sort of bleed through like that. And the other point is that, as people have pointed out, if you're gay, one of the sort of go-to smears is, oh, you're obviously a paedophile, oh, you're obviously blah, 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 blah. And so there's a certain, in the same way like reclaiming of the N-word and stuff like that, reclaiming of Antinius to be just representative of hedonistic, fun, gay sex as opposed to pedophilia you know, is perfectly legitimate. And like to
as long as no children are harmed in the process, it's not an issue.
Well, exactly. This is it. And as we say,
the moment a child is harmed in the process, we talk.
Well, this is the point. Like, you know, and just to say the very obvious thing, it's like James Alefantis is a gay man. He obviously enjoys his sex life, etc., etc., etc. There's an association between gay sex and ancient Greece and ancient Rome.
Yeah,
that's it. That's it. That's literally it. It's really not that big of a deal, but people made it into a huge thing. Now, the picture, I got kicked off a radio show in America for pointing this next one out. The picture of the man who's not James Alefantis, it's James Alefantis' friend holding a child with the hashtag chicken lover. And people have pointed out to me that chicken lover is a representative of a man that's having sex with a young boy, etc., etc., etc. There's several things wrong with this. One, it's a girl. Mm-hmm. It's a girl, right? Mm-hmm. I'll take it further. It's James Alefantis' niece. We know who it is. It's James Alefantis' niece. I'll take it a step further. Hashtag chicken lover was a promotional hashtag that was being spread on the internet by a chicken restaurant that the party had visited earlier that day.
Yeah.
And so basically this girl had been there for the first time. She'd ate chicken nuggets, and so they'd put hashtag chicken lover.
Yeah.
So it doesn't hold together in any sense of it. Then the photograph of the young girl that's actually sort of with her hands sellotaped to the table, right? Okay, same girl. It's his niece. She's smiling. She's clearly smiling in the photo, right? It's the sort of thing that you do with your kids. My mates' kids, the thing that they always ask me to do is grab them by their ankles and dangle them. Right? They love that. They absolutely love that. But you know, if you just snapped a photo of Neil running off with two children by the ankles, like it looks bad.
You know, we're going to do that now, right?
That's all you can. Like, it's fine. I knew that photo had come back to haunt me.
We're going to go Sanders Gate here. It's going to be great.
Fantastic. So the next one, and the one that people found rather damning, the I Love l'Enfant T-shirt, which some people have translated to I Love Infants. Mm-hmm. Now, I will be the first to admit that this is an unfortunate, and I wouldn't wear that T-shirt. No. However, l'Enfant is the name of a restaurant. And it's named after the French gentleman who designed the street map of Washington, D.C.
Right. Isn't that a cracker? Because, of course, the James L'Enfant thing, you know, James Alefantis, James L'Enfant. Like, well, it's crazy.
Yeah, potentially. But this is the point. But l'Enfant, now here's the interesting thing. Now, there's a separate conspiracy theory about the street map of Washington having all sorts of occult symbols and owls and Freemasonic symbols and stuff. No,
you should believe all this, man.
No, there is a degree of truth to it. I'll tell you where this degree of truth comes from.
Okay.
It comes from L'Enfant himself. L'Enfant was actually an occultist. He was also a hermeticist and a Freemason that wanted to include certain things within the street map of Washington. However, he fell out with everybody just prior to the actual thing. So he took his map with him. And so they sort of had to, as far as I'm aware, kind of from memory, incorporate some of his plan. So the L'Enfant street map never actually happened, but some of his elements of what he wanted have been incorporated into the Washington street map. And then when you look at things like the big obelisk and the shape of the White House, etc., there are some things in there that actually are made to Masonic principle, as in every city, because it's Masons that build the big buildings, and they have certain things that they put in there, like calling cards.
Fruity union. It's not a big deal. Yeah,
exactly.
Totally. Yeah. I once played in a punk band and we had songs all about killing police and stuff like that. Our drummer was a Freemason, our guitarist was a Freemason, and our bass player had recently joined the police.
That's great.
So
that's very
It wasn't quite as punk as it. No, yeah, quite.
Yeah, it's not like the Sex Pistols, oh, we're here. We're going to do stuff. Hopefully make some money. Eventually, maybe I'll be Johnny Rotten. I'll become a weird conservative and start espousing terrible fucking BNP beliefs.
Terrible takes on Donald Trump, but hey ho. So essentially, the only other one that was really, the problem with James Alefantis' Instagram is that basically, again, if you're looking at it through a lens of really wanting to be creeped out by it, there's lots of stuff that you could find that's creepy. But as I say, you could find that in anybody's Instagram. The room where it's like a big empty room and he's put #murder and everyone's gone, why would you do that? It's like, Jesus Christ, you should see the WhatsApp messages between me and my mates and stuff like that. Some of them are foul. Yeah. That's what people do with each other. They have in-jokes, and he's saying, yeah, that's the murder room. It's a joke, for crying out loud. Yeah. Again, people have taken it completely seriously. And then all the other sort of things. It's like, there's a picture of the German doll and stuff like that. So what? Literally, so what? Yeah. None of this actually hangs together.
Yeah.
The ones that sort of are explicitly sexual, the ones two men obviously licking a big penis that's covered by pizza and blah, 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 blah. They all come from a chap called Josh Ryan Vogelsong. Right? And there's 2 points, right? One, there's absolutely nothing wrong or sinister about any of those pictures. They're just sexual in nature.
Yeah.
And 2, Josh Ryan Vogelsong is gay as the day is long. And if you look at his Instagram and stuff like that, he's into that sort of flamboyant imagery.
Yeah.
It's not so what? Again, absolutely so what?
Doesn't matter.
No, it's playing on people's concepts of homophobia and the idea that, all homosexual men are essentially paedophiles that can't get away with it or whatever.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. The picture of the bearded man covered in blood with jewelry on, doing this with his, he's lying down with his face in his hands. That's a picture that was taken by Miss Summercamp, who was one of the waitresses that worked there, from 2015. It's a drag act that they got in for their Halloween party.
Yeah. That's it.
Again, nothing to do with anything weird at all.
No.
Going on to Tony Podesta. Right, now, Tony Podesta and his strange artwork. Okay, so all the ones that the Biljana Đurđević and stuff, which is all the pale kids in the swimming pool and stuff like that, he's got some by her, but he's not got any of those sinister ones. He's got ones of them lying on the floor. Now, you could make the argument that these children are dead or whatever, but it's a painting. They're not real kids. And I don't think they are supposed to be dead. It's just people not understanding art. Like the Maria Marshall ones and stuff like that. They include her child smoking or with rats on them and stuff like that. They're not real images. They're composite images. And that's the juxtaposition. Children should not be in these positions.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it an interesting piece of art. There's the Arch of Hysteria, which is the sort of gold figure that's arching back. And it looks a bit like a Jeffrey Dahmer victim. It's not a Jeffrey Dahmer victim. It's connected to a medical curiosity that happens when people go through extreme hysteria. It's been noted that people go into convulsions like that and cause this arch. Again, this is why some people like art and some people don't like art. I looked at that and went, oh, that's cool. I'd love that dangling from my ceiling. Lots of people will look at it and go that's disgusting. It's despicable. It looks like a headless torso.
I tend to be
don't have it in your house.
I tend to be on the same side. Yeah.
Do you know what? This is kind of the point. If it wasn't extreme, it's not supposed to be liked by everybody.
Exactly.
That's why it's extreme.
Yes.
I hate heaps of art. It's fine.
Quite, but this is the thing. Like, but for people to just misinterpret stuff or to apply their own interpretation in a very, very conservative and puritanical way, it's just silly, really.
It's a pure satanic panic.
Yeah, it's exactly that.
When it comes down to it, there's a lot of art that sucks. And I can't stand it. I'd want nothing to do with it in my life. But I respect where it comes from. I respect what it does. But I respect it from a distance because I'm not going to have some fucking pig's blood thrown upon my wall to make some statement. I don't care. I'm not a fucking edgy. I got shit to deal with. I haven't done my tax return yet. Like, I don't fucking care. I have too much to worry about to be involved in all this nonsense. But I do understand the idea that some people are at a point in their lives where they need to feel something and they need to express that in a way that maybe pushes barriers and maybe like shifts paradigms. And I get that. And we benefit that as a society and we do this historically and they're the ones who'll make history. I fucking won't. I'm going to be too busy doing my taxes to make history. But I tell you what, when it comes down to these sort of things, the last thing I'm going to do is call someone because they're doing something that I don't like a pedophile.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, I thought we're into freedom of speech and freedom of expression. One could make an argument potentially about the Katie Granham pics, because the Katie Granham pics are pictures of naked teenagers. Okay, but they're all taken with full consent. And again, it's an art thing. Yeah. And Brent, you were pointing this out as well. Nudity is seen as quite a big deal in America. It's like a very sort of like, it's a hot button topic. The concept of naked adults near naked children or whatever would drive some people wild. And it's just not a big deal in certain countries. Like, for example, you lived in Germany, didn't you? And you were saying that, nudity was fairly ubiquitous. It's not considered sexual. It's just considered functional, so to speak.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a culture thing. Like, England and America is very similar in the way that they're very like pearl clutchy about nudity.
Yeah.
It seems like any nudity is automatically assumed to be sexual.
Yeah.
And growing up in Germany, that just really isn't it in the rest of Europe. Like, nudity is just nudity. Everybody is like, everybody has bits. Everybody has like a naked body underneath their clothes. And there's no shame in that, it's not always like, if someone's nude, it's sexual. You're allowed to go nude in a public park in Germany.
Yeah.
Right? You're allowed to sunbathe nude. And it's not like seen as, groomers.
Yeah.
Like, when I was a kid, I don't remember it in detail, but I remember having my dick out a lot and just running around without a care in the goddamn world. And to me, that is nature. That makes a lot of sense. The idea that is somehow taboo because, Freaky Freddy's in a fucking van somewhere watching me, that's confected. That's weird and gross. If there's a real reason to be worried, I appreciate being taken care of by people around me who have a higher power position. I get that. But otherwise, it just feels like projection from people who have a hero complex that they can't fulfill without projecting something onto their children to then fulfill it with an enemy who doesn't exist. I mean, yes, child sex offenses, they do happen, but I mean, Jesus Christ, guys, you're taking it to a point where it's becoming ubiquitous. That's weird. It's not.
Precisely, exactly right. Moving on to Owen Schroyer on InfoWars, November the 7th. Now, we must remember, what did Owen Schroyer do? Owen Schroyer decided to say that he thought that Pizzagate was definitely worth investigating and advising that people probably should go down to the pizza place. And this is how you get involved in this fight. This is how you change the world. Maybe tomorrow you go to Comet Pizza and capture footage that changes the world. That's how you make an impact. Injudicious, I would say. But what was it that sort of spurred him on to have this confidence? Well, it was that phone call, wasn't it? That bloke phoned up and told them about the employee of Comet Ping Pong, Paul Town. Now, the bloke repeats that name quite a lot, Paul Town. Make sure that everybody knows Paul Town. And he's already told everybody where he's come from. He's come from R. the Donald on Reddit. Okay. Paul Town is a joke name that is bandied around on Reddit poll as in polls, as in the groups on Reddit. So Poll Town,
4chan poll. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Paul Town is an internet gag. He may as well have phoned up and told Owen Schroyer, I've heard of 9,000 paedophiles. It's just an internet meme. Like, you know, that his power's gone to 9,000. It's an internet meme. Paul Town. So he's winding Owen Schroyer up. But Owen Schroyer, being the journalist that he is, doesn't bother to check. He amplifies this message, and off the back of this message, tells people to go to Comet Pizza and change the world.
Wow.
Not a good look, Owen.
No.
Not a good look by any stretch of the imagination. Now, one of the people that went to Comet off the back of potentially the suggestion from Owen was Jack Pacific. Like, he went there on November the 16th and basically, you know...
Yeah, he did his thing.
He did his thing. He tried to turn up and film it. You know, he bottled it pretty sharpish, and he turned up and, like... It's very obvious from watching the footage that they clock them the second that they arrive. They're there acting weird. They're trying to act so normal that it comes across as really weird. So that's why they've been found out, okay? And the reason the police turned up so quickly is because, as the man says in the footage, they've been getting death threats, so they've got police officers posted outside just in case. So they obviously stopped that later, just prior to that chap turning up with a gun. But hey-ho, you can't get everything right. Now, they keep pointing out that there's this back room, and they keep saying, like, there's something going on behind the curtains. If you look behind the back room, there's, like, people going behind there, and there's tables and chairs and stuff in there. The back room is the function room. It's advertised on their website as a function room where they have parties, usually children's parties. Now, again, why did no one pick up on that? That's where they have the children's parties. That's a better conspiracy theory than the one that they've come out with. But again, they're just crap with it. They're just really, really, really crap. So this is the problem. So they get kicked out. They've seen kids in there, and they basically become terrified of this back room. The thing is, that's why there's ping pong and foosball and stuff there, because it caters to children. So it's not suspicious that children would be in a restaurant where they explicitly advertise that you can bring your children here.
They're actually being kept away from you so you don't look at them.
Precisely. And, you know, Washington is a tourist destination as well as basically being a major city. So, you know, you need places where you can take kids out for evening meals and stuff like that tolerate it.
And movers and shakers probably like being behind walls.
Yeah, precisely. I know we're really skipping over the Jack Pacific thing, but really it's because there's absolutely nothing there. They didn't see anything. They wound themselves up, and then they got kicked out for acting sketchy. And then basically they kind of sort of like try and build on it. They then go down to Besta Pizza, and they get all excited about that picture, and it's a shack with another shack on top, and with a ladder going to it. And it says, if you want to live upstairs, go for it, live your dream. You know, for someone that spends all his life on the internet, he's not particularly good at like spotting sarcastic memes, is he? Like, the clear joke from that is that you've actually done no better. You've just moved slightly upstairs. But follow your dream. It's a joke. It's a cynical joke saying that basically, like, it's like the opposite of those pictures of mountains that idiots have in their offices that say, win, you can do it, or whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? It's a joke. Yeah. It's just nothing.
And that is a wrap for now. Join us next week as we continue down the Pizzagate rabbit hole. You can gain access to this entire series on day one of release by joining our Patreon for only $5 a month. Included in this package are 4 of Neil's books, my entire discography, early access to episodes, Patreon-only episodes, and a PDF of Headache Comics 4, courtesy of Nicholas C. Gray. You can also support us by subscribing, sharing, liking, or leaving a review wherever you are listening to us. And please follow us on Twitter @SomeDarePodcast. Thank you for listening.